So actually tonight's topic is very important to ourselves, and at the same time it's also very important to people around us. Why is because if you get the invitation for tonight, you'll be aware that actually I put it there purposely that to let everyone know why this topic is so important is because it's always the #1 killer, okay, in Malaysia and actually in worldwide as well, okay, especially throughout all this year, there's no improvement. It's always ranked as #1 killer, the heart disease that actually causing the highest death in our population. Okay, so even now during this COVID and also pandemic time, right, we also know that we often categorize those who are high risk as those who actually elderly people and also people who have a precondition, like for example, diabetic heart disease is definitely one of it, and also other cardiovascular related diseases. So I think it's very important for us to actually look into this topic tonight, and especially for during current this moment of pandemic, whereby we also want to improve our health in terms of heart, so that touch wood, in case we are being contracted with this very awful virus, we are still able to recover and we are not categorized under that high risk category of people, right? So it's not only us, like I said, it's also people around us. Like in our family, we will have our elderly parents, even our grandparents, and then we might also have people around us, our relatives, our friends, our cousins, even our colleagues who will concern on this topic. But if let's say today they are not here and we are here to learn together, then probably we can be the one who actually share some information with them, right? So before I go into the main topic of tonight, I think just to start it fun, I would like to have a quick quiz with every one of you. Some of you might have already seen this quiz before, but just a recap, and probably some of you might have forgotten as well. So firstly, when we talk about heart, right, how well do we know our heart? Okay, how big is our heart and where is it? Okay, this one I think is quite easy, the first question. So it's basically at the this sternum area, and then it's slightly tweaked to our left-hand side. So how big is it? Is basically 300 grams. And like I said, it's in the middle and it's inclined to the left-hand side of our body, okay? And then how much blood does the heart actually pump on a daily basis? Okay, it's actually about 10,000 liters. So that is a very, very huge workload for an organ in our body. And you can imagine it's like working 24/7. Okay, even when we are sleeping, it's still working and pumping all this blood that we require by every part of our body. So I would say it's the most hardworking organ in our body, right? And number three, how does the sound of the heart coming from? So sometimes when we are sick or when we go to the doctor, they use the stethoscope to hear our heartbeat, all that, right? So what actually generate that sound of our heart pumping? Okay, do you guys know? So basically, it's actually the valve opening. It's not our heart jumping, that's why creating the sound. It's because of the valve opening. Okay, so in our heart, right, we have the artery, we have the vein, all that, and then we also have a very strong and very powerful valve. Okay, so that valve opening and close actually create the sound of our heart pumping. Okay, so last time I used to misunderstand that it's actually because of our heart is like jumping, that's why got the sound. Okay, probably it's because of the cartoon. Last time we watched a lot of cartoon, and then whenever they show the heart pumping, right, it's like tut, 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 like that. So we thought the sound is coming from that. So that is just a fun fact for everyone of us to know. And then number four, can the muscle tissue of our heart regenerate? So this is important question, and it will relate to whether we really put attention to take care of our heart, right? Because we know that in our body, a lot of time when we injured, it will regenerate and we will recover. Okay, but what about the muscle of our heart? Because heart is mainly and largely built by muscle tissue. Okay, because it's a very strong organ and almost like most of the part is like muscle. Okay, so once it's injured, right, okay, you will actually create a scar tissue. So when it has a scar tissue. In another words, it will not be replaced by the muscle tissue anymore. So in short, it will not be regenerate. So we have to really like take care of our heart so that no any injury, no any scarring happen, so that it will still continue to serve us 24/7 and until the end of our life, right? So if the heart artery, this is starting to relate to our heart pressure. So you know our heart is so powerful and so strong, right? And the sound generated from our heart also like so loud, tuk, 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 because you put your hand over your chest, right? You can also feel the beat of our heart, right? So you can imagine how much pressure it needs to actually send all the blood to every part of our body. Okay, so imagine today if we cut our artery, okay, how far the blood will actually spill, okay, or spray, okay. So the answer is actually 9 meters. So can you imagine the pressure is like so high? So this is actually very true because last time in secondary school, I also have a true story whereby someone accidentally during sport time, they accidentally cut the vein just at the wrist. It's not the main artery yet, and we remember the blood is like spilling spray to the sky very high. Okay, so it's a very tragic memory, but basically it's also a fact that we need to know the pressure secure inside our blood circulation system is quite high. Okay, because we have a very strong heart. Okay, so to continue this topic of tonight, right, I think it's also important to bring everyone attention to why it's important to know this and why it's important to people around us. Okay, this is just a statistic. Okay, you might not feel anything looking at all these statistics, right? But just to make it more close to every one of us, if today I ask you, right, got any of your friend or your family members got the cardiovascular disease? Definitely, I'm quite sure the answer is yes. Okay, even we ourselves didn't suffer that kind of disease, but definitely we have heard of people around us and people in some even in our own family that suffer from cardiovascular disease. So it's so common and so prevalent until the extent that we are very sure definitely people around us will have people have that problem. Okay, either is a high blood pressure, either is a low blood pressure, the more common one, or some even a more serious chronic one, probably they already know that they have a heart attack problem. Some might also have already encountered a minor stroke. Okay, some the very beginning of this cardiovascular disease, we might also have friends who very stressed with their work that they started to have this minor hypertension. Okay, so all this is actually relating to our heart also. Okay, is relating to the topic that we're going to talk tonight. So you can see actually from this statistic itself, the percentage of all this cardiovascular disease is so high. Okay, and ischemic attack and or sometimes we call ischemic disease is also majority part of it. Okay, so that one is from WHO. But if we look at the Malaysia statistic, right? Ministry of Health have published the latest not Ministry of Health, sorry, is from Department of Statistics Malaysia. They have published actually the latest, which is in 2020. Okay, so you can also see actually the number one cause of death is still ischemic heart disease. Okay, so when we know that this is actually the highest death, right, and is often the one that most people neglected. Okay, people don't care about this because it's too common. Okay, but it's the number one killer in at least in Malaysia, and I believe in Asia country and also in Southeast Asia it's also number one. Okay, so you can it's also interesting for us to know which age actually it attacks, and there are actually some information that I can interpret from this statistic also. Not let's see whether you guys agree or not. Okay, you can see actually this second part of the section, right? It says that 41 years old to 59 years old, right? 80% of the cost. So you can see the cost of death start to increase 40 years old and above, right? So you see 60 years old and above is also heart related. Okay, But what we can interpret from this number is not telling us that we only start to worry when we are 41, right? If we think deeper and we try to think, it's not that 41 years old, you start to eat heavily on all those unhealthy food, right? It all started from when we are 15 to 40, right? So it happens through accumulation, okay? It's happened through a lifestyle habit that we already existingly have, but it start to strike us 40 and above because our body start to degenerate. Our metabolism rate start to slow down, okay? There's a lot of things that we cannot recover that fast. The repair process also slow down. So that is the reason why it actually strike and become chronic, and sometimes even more unfortunate is they take the life 40 years old and onwards. So what we need to do is not only tell ourselves that, oh, we are still young, we haven't reached that age range, so it's nothing to do with us. Okay, currently we just need to worry whether we are involved in accident because the accident death rate is the highest. But bear in mind that it is what we have existingly doing now that build out to that 41 years old and above the death rate. Okay, so also interesting to know that among the races, you can see it's like quite evenly. Okay, so it's not exclusive to anyone. Okay, it's everyone concerned and it's everyone to take note on. Okay, so you can see the statistic earlier is 2020, so you might say, oh, it's probably because it's just 1 year thing. Okay, but this is a trend. Okay, so this is from the past until now. Okay, it never get lower, it only get higher. So from this, we also can tell interpretation from there is that, like I said, most of the people don't care. Okay, but we are lucky that we are a small group of people who actually attended tonight's session because we're concerned about our health. We know the importance of prevention. That's why we should learn more about this and then try to share as much as possible with people that we love. Okay, so you can see it's building up. Of course, it takes a lot and a great efforts to really take it down again, but it's not easy because the history have proved that it will only increase due to many reasons, because all the processed food, all the diet that we have nowadays is just contributing more and more to these cases, right? So before I go further, this is also just to recap our biology class. So during biology class last time, we also learned about our heart, the compartment that we have. So you can see actually it's a few compartments that we have. So it's mainly, to keep it simple, our heart is to actually exchange the oxygen that we need for the entire body. Okay, our body and require oxygen to survive. Okay, so heart is like a pump to pump all this when the blood exchange in our lungs, right? Then it goes to our bloodstream and then it flows to this heart as a pump that actually circulate into whole body. So while it actually distributes all this oxygen to the body, at the same time, it also distributes all the nutrition to every parts of our body. Okay, because all this nutrition is distributed through our blood circulation system also, right? Okay, so that is how we nourish our body, and without this heart, you can imagine what will happen to our body. Okay, it's very crucial organ. Okay, so here I also use an analogy. Okay, not sure whether you guys see this kind of pump before. So this is actually a rubber pump and then with a plastic tube. Okay, so this is something that when we do the eSpring demo also, we use this also. So I just to put it, if compared to our heart, right, you can imagine actually our heart is something like this. Okay, so the rubber pump actually is our heart. So the function of it is actually to pump, like I said just now. So what actually will cause the functionality to be impaired? Okay, there are actually three main cause that I have put it there in red color. So you can see actually either the change of the pressure that will actually impair the function of our heart. So how this change of pressure happen? Okay, it could be due to the composition in our blood. Okay, it could be due to our kidney also sometimes. It could due to our artery. Okay, is there any blockage or clot that will actually build out the pressure? So secondly, energy of the pumping. Okay, So another reason that actually impair the function of it is like we know that the heart itself is very powerful, but the moment when it become weak, right, then it will actually affect the function also, right? So when will it actually become weak? Okay, this is a question, $1 million question that no one can answer. But we only need to know one thing is it definitely need energy to do its work. Okay, imagine a machine that you don't put in fuel, you don't put in energy, definitely it will not function optimally also. So same like every parts of our body, our heart also need that energy. Okay, so later on I'll share what is the energy. So number two, the flow controller. So you can see here there's also something like a controller. Okay, so we assume that this is something like our valve in our heart. Okay, so what normally will cause issue for this valve? So this is sometimes this is actually more rare. Okay, we hardly heard about the valve problem in our heart. Mostly it's caused by the heart itself and also the blood vessel and also the artery. Okay, but that it could be also having problem due to injury or some rare diseases, heart diseases. Okay, so thirdly is this long tube that you saw in the picture. Okay, so this tube is basically our blood vessel, our artery, our vein. Okay, so the functionality seem very similar to our heart. The function of this tube, right, it will be affected with the change of the pressure. So at this moment, right, the change of pressure could be caused by the artery being clogged up, like I mentioned just now. So when it's being clogged up, the functionality, the flow rate of it will be affected, will be impacted. Okay, second is also if there's any injury, because any injury, it will actually cause scarring. So when there's a scarring, it will also accumulate the cholesterol and fats at that area. Okay, so it could be also due to change of the elasticity. Okay, so imagine today this tube you put under hot sun for a long time, it will harden, right? But for our blood vessel and our artery, all that, will it harden? It will also harden, but not due to sunlight. Okay, it's due to we didn't provide the material to actually maintain the elasticity of the blood vessel. Okay, it need nutrition and also input to maintain that. Okay, and then lastly, like I mentioned, clog. Okay, when it's totally clogged, then of course it will affect the function of it. So to put it simple, our heart, of course, tonight I will not be able to cover all the problem of heart, but I just want to share the most common and the most prevalent among our community and society, right? So it's always this build up of this clogging in our blood that actually cause our heart become more burden, and then end of the day we will have all the cardiovascular disease that we mentioned. But how all this happen is not in one day, it's an accumulation, like I mentioned. So we will not be able to see as well, because sometimes in our body, the blood vessel or the artery can be very small. Okay, it can be as small as a blood vessel that actually send oxygen to our brain. Okay, so sometimes people who actually have the stroke attack, right, it's like happening in the brain. Okay, so why it happens there is because most of the time the blood vessel there is very small and very tiny. So the smaller it is, the easier it get clogged, right? If let's say our lifestyle and also our composition in blood is not right, and then if let's say got some small injury in the blood vessel, then it start to have that all the deposit there, and then it block out the whole thing. And then imagine it's a small blood vessel that bursts, but it bursts at the wrong place, which is our brain, then that is actually causing a very dangerous attack to us. Okay, so in this picture, it gives us a clearer picture how the deposit and also the accumulation can actually happen. So until it's not fully blocked, right? Until it's not 80% or 90% blocked, right? You might still go through your life very okay, relaxed. You don't feel anything. You still think that you are healthy, all that. But please bear in mind, this thing don't give us warning. Okay, it just happen inside our body without us able to see the progress or anything. but it's happening. Okay, we ourselves have to be honest to ourselves lah. Okay, if let's say we know that our lifestyle or wherever that I share later on some of the main factor that causing it, if you check 2 or 3 of it, then probably have to be very cautious already, because we are actually actively building up all these contributory factor, right? So this is just a guideline on what is the blood pressure that we will have, the category of it. So you can see normally when if let's say you have a high blood pressure friend or family members, they will actually check their blood pressure regularly, right? And almost every day, right? Other than taking medicine. Okay, so this is just a guideline for us also to know, because nowadays a lot of the smartwatch also have this function whereby it can also give an indication. It's not accurate as per the blood pressure thing, but it also gives an indication what is our blood pressure and so on, and our heartbeat, all that. Okay, so to read blood pressure, right, normally you give 2 reading one. So the systolic and also diastolic. So the systolic is when your heart is in the compressed, in the pump position. So you expect the pressure to go higher. So when the pressure go higher, right, still got maximum one, okay? So for a normal person, right, it's supposed to less than 120. Okay, so that means if the higher the number goes, that means your heart, when it's compressed, right, it creates more pressure in the entire circulation system. That means it start to have some signal of your circulation system, and also the heart is like having the burden already, okay, because the pressure is not supposed to go that high. Okay, and then for diastolic is when after the compression, you will relax back, right? So when it's in the relaxed mode, okay, there will still be pressure one. Otherwise, then the blood stop whenever the heart release, right? So the blood will still flow because there was still pressure, okay? But it's not supposed to go any higher than shown in the table. So when you have something that which is more than 80 and so on, we have to start to worry as well for our diastolic reading. Okay, so this is for people who have a minor hypertension. Okay, also have to take note, is it due to the stress, or is it due to a starting of a diet or something that actually changed your lifestyle? Okay, so this is just a sharing when we go to the do blood test, all that. We also quite concerned on our cholesterol sometimes. Okay, so because cholesterol will eventually related to our cardiovascular health also. Okay, because when the cholesterol is high, we would expect the deposit and also the accumulation of the thing that block our blood vessel. The risk is definitely higher, right? So we want to have a good reading of our cholesterol. So this is before pandemic, I still go for the body checkup. So you can see, thanks to the good lifestyle and also the discipline that we have, actually we can have a good reading, everyone. Okay, we can also have share with our friend and family. Okay, so this is I won't put this too long. So this is basically operation and the surgery for a heart. Okay, so I just want to, because end of the day, right, when we talk about all these disease, people might have the thinking that, oh, when I have this problem, then I don't have to worry because I have insurance to cover me. So today we are not talking about whether you can afford the cost of it or not. Okay, we are talking about whether you want to undergo all this or not. Okay, like the previous slide when I show you. Of course, operation also you might not feel the pain, because nowadays they are using the medication to actually put you in numb, or you don't have feeling, or you're unconscious during the operation, all that. But do we want to undergo that kind of overhaul in our body? And probably it might not be a successful one also. So to me, it's always still the same. Prevention is definitely better than cure. Okay, because when we want to go for the cure, right, it's not something that we can accept it easily also. Okay, do you want to have a foreign body that actually implant into your body just to make sure that you can still stay alive? Okay, we try to avoid that, right? So this is just some sharing on the technique and also the treatment that will be used for some of the heart diseases. So this is I think this is quite common. You guys should know the we normally call it balloon. So use the balloon to actually expand back the blood vessel so that it can actually let the blood flow back. Okay. And then the other one is like when it's fully clogged, they have to do this technique, which is bridge. Okay. So you will also heard of it also. If you have people who suffer from heart disease, they normally use this bridge. Okay. And then another one that I didn't put here is like you have to put a generator. It's like put a motor inside whenever your heart need more energy to like pump and all that. So I think our previous prime minister also undergo that kind of surgery. But is it we want to wait until the extent, then only we do the whatever we can? Because whatever we can do now is actually quite easy to actually prevent all this from happening, or at least lower down the risk, right? So like I mentioned just now, balloon, angioplasty. Okay, we also have this bypass. Okay, and doctor normally they will advise, and the decision is based on how serious is the artery being blocked, and also depending on the medical history of that particular patient, right? Okay, so it's by that time, right? It's no longer your choice already. Okay, I prefer this one. This one look nicer or not? No. Okay, it's all coming from the doctor. The doctor will advise what is best suit your current situation. Okay, and then this is about cost. So cost will just go through, because you might say, oh, it's covered by insurance or what. But imagine today, if let's say it's not, you don't have this coverage. Okay, these are the costs that actually we have to on top worry about when we have this health issue, right? So it's really worth thinking whether we want to prevent it. Okay, because for elderly people, it's also not covered by insurance already. Okay, so I mean, most of the elder people last time they didn't buy a full coverage, and if let's say now want to buy it, it will be very expensive, and certain people who is more than 70 years old, it will not be covered also, because insurance company also know that they are the high risk group. Okay, so they don't want to make a loss making business, right? So it's not about money lah. I think it's more on whether we want to prolong our healthy lifestyle or not. Okay, and then if let's say today, so unfortunate we are having already this cardiovascular disease, then we have to put on with medication, right? And we all know that medication, it will actually be a very long-term thing. Okay, so today I will not also advise you to stop or anything, but this is just for our information. All medication comes with a side effect. Okay, because when it comes to the medication that actually control or try to regulate the blood pressure in our body, right, you will have some side effect. Okay, so this will include things that I have mentioned below: obesity, we might have fatigue, okay, dizziness, muscle, and so on, and difficult breathing, liver damage, memory loss, constipation, sexual function, all that will also come along. So that is how important our blood circulation through our body is. So it's either we want to take care of it, or we want to resolve with medication in the future. So of course, we want to choose the number one if we have the choice now. Okay, but if let's say today we don't have the choice, we're already taking all this medication, don't stop it, continue to take. If you want to reduce the dosage, get the advice from the doctor or your medical doctor. But at the same time, actually you can improve the condition also, okay, from the root. That means through diet, through your lifestyle. I really highly encourage even people who are already taking medication to go through a very holistic, all-rounded way to improve that condition. And then slowly, when you feel better, or whenever you do the checking of your blood pressure in the morning, you see, improve already. Then probably you can go back to your doctor and see whether you can reduce the dosage of the medication or not. Okay, so there are actually 8 guidelines to take good care of our heart. Okay, it's as simple as that. Or either we want to wait until go for surgery, take medication. Okay, I believe normal person answer will be no. Okay, so let's go for the simple one, which is just do some little bit of changes here in our life. So the first one is definitely, if let's say we are a smoker or people around us who is smoker, and we notice that they might have this health issue already, our advice is actually to reduce it or try to stop. Okay, because the chemical inside the smoke, right, you actually increase the blood concentration, and is directly affecting. Why directly? Because how do we smoke? We smoke into our lungs, right? And lungs is the place where the blood exchange, okay? But it's not intelligent that it will only exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide, okay? Whatever that we breathe in, it will exchange as well. That is how we get COVID also. But that is how we get chemical as well into our bloodstream whenever we are smoking. So it's a very direct impact. So don't take it for granted by saying that a lot, because we also often heard people saying that, oh, I have a friend who is a very heavy smoker, also live very healthily. Okay, don't take that kind of bad example to assure ourselves that it's okay to do so, because to me it's always like by individual basis. Okay, probably he has a stronger body during young time, but we won't know when it grows older it will compound all the effect or not. Okay, so we shouldn't like bet our body against that. And then secondly, of course, for alcohol or whoever is a drinker, also reduce or try not to drink it, because the surge of the alcohol can also cause the increase in our body weight and eventually cause the cardiovascular disease or blood pressure issue. Okay, and then number 3 is very common also nowadays, fast food. Okay, lockdown, don't know what to eat, order fast food also. Okay, so reduce fast food and also processed food, because fast food and processed food normally is coming with the complete bundle to have cardiovascular disease. Okay, why? Because first thing, saturated fat. Okay, second, we've got trans fat. Okay, and then third, very high sodium, very high salt, very salty. Okay, so all these 3 things are contributed directly also to our blood pressure issue and also the clogging of our blood vessel. Okay, and number 4, whether we are living in a stress. So just now I also mentioned, for people who are very stressed at work, right? Normally you will have the minor hypertension first, and then slowly it will grow. Because whenever we are under stress or we are under that tension, right? Can you imagine your blood vessel and artery, all that is also like stirred up, right? So when it's always stirred, right, it also affect the blood pressure in the circulation. So that is how the blood vessel in long term, it becomes harder and harden, and then it will affect the elasticity also. So how to do that is actually learn how to relax ourselves through meditation, not medication, through meditation, and also have some leisure hobbies. You can engage with workout group, can join us on our weekly workout also. Every Saturday we have that workout session, come and sweat and also have fun. Okay, and then also like I mentioned, okay, we can have a 2 to 3 hours per week of exercise. It helps a lot, because whenever our body have that metabolism and also have that exercise beat, it will also help to regulate our blood vessel and also our body internally better. Okay, and get enough sleep and enough rest. Okay, average of 7 hours. Okay, if this is the best okay. If for people who always night out, okay, stay late, okay, try to improve it. Okay, and then heart. Okay, regularly observe, and if possible, get a blood pressure machine, or if let's say if not, then try to do a regular routine checkup, okay, for body, so that we can have an early indication if there's something wrong with our body, either be it cholesterol or be it our blood pressure. Okay, so also can have the habit like for example, sometimes we have normal illness, we go to consult with doctors, right? We also ask them about our blood pressure. Okay, and then lastly, which is also a very important, which is a healthy diet. Okay, so healthy diet includes having a very rich and balanced diet, getting more fruits and vegetables in our diet, so that it can actually help to cleanse up our body also, because we will need good fatty acid also to clear up all the LDL. Okay, the bad cholesterol in our body need to be cleared off with good fat. Okay, not only is imagine like today, if we want to repaint our house, right? So paint, we know, is like oil based. Okay, in order to take off this oil base and paint a new paint, right, we have to take it off with oil based thing also. For example, thinner also got some oil base. So that is how actually we take off. Same like for ladies, if you make up, you want to take off, you also need some sometimes some oil-based makeup remover. Okay, so that is the concept of it. Same goes to our internal body, our blood vessel. So whenever there's a bad cholesterol already accumulate or deposit there, right, you need a good oil to flush it off also. And that good oil actually is the omega-3 that we often need to get from our diet, but we didn't. Okay, so these are just a recap on the things that cause to our diet and bad eating. Okay, because just like smoking and drinking, okay, eating is actually also largely contribute to this problem of heart disease. Okay, because all this is for convenience, for craving, okay, for easy to get, okay, cheaper to get, but okay, we all know lah, okay, we all know it doesn't that's good to our body lah. So sometimes okay to satisfy that craving, but not every day, not frequent. Okay, so if let's say all these and the 8 things that I mentioned just now, we didn't follow and we still take all this, then categorize ourselves as the high risk. Okay, and we need to learn how to actually supplement also. Okay, because from our diet, like I said, if let's say we not manage to always intake a good omega, right, we need to learn how to supplement it. Okay, so today I'm going to share 3 supplementation which is helpful for a healthy heart. So the first one is actually lecithin E. So lecithin E is like the name suggests, is basically inside made of lecithin, and it have the vitamin E. Okay, so why I say it's related to heart is because the purpose of lecithin, right, it helps to increase the storage of this fat emulsifier in our body, because our body don't naturally have this thing. Okay, we have to take from diet, and then this fat emulsifier actually help to break down the fat that we intake in our food. Okay, so when it breaks down, at the same time, it also keep the lipids in its substance, so that is in the liquid state, that it will actually circulate well in our blood, and then it will not clog up our blood vessel. So that is the function of lecithin, and it's very important, especially when it comes to all the small blood vessels, right? How do you want to reach that? Okay, when we talk about all the big artery and big vein, okay, you can do surgery and clean up, but how about all those small blood vessels? You cannot do surgery and clean up, right? So it all depends on all these small nutrition that actually can help out. Okay, and then of course it also help to it's also called this vessel scavenger. It's like our blood vessel cleaner. Okay, and then the vitamin E inside is a very strong antioxidant that helps to fight free radical, because free radical is the one that actually eventually started the deposit inside our blood vessel. So imagine that if there's a injury in our blood vessel, right, the things that start the deposit and composite is actually our own immune system that will want to actually make a scarring effect. But on top of that, there's also the free radical that coming in that helps to build out that deposit. So that is something that we don't want. So if let's say we have a good antioxidant replenishment in our body, it will reduce that scarring become inflamed. Okay, so when the inflammation is not over severe, then it can recover the injury in our blood vessel. So when I keep mentioning about injury in our blood vessel, probably you cannot imagine how come our blood vessel will have injury. It's because of the things that we eat inside also lah. Because whenever we intake some very things that will cause sensitivity and also will be harsh to our blood vessel, right, it will actually cause inflammation. Okay, so the injury that I keep mentioning just now is basically inflammation in our blood vessel. Okay, it's quite common. And then for this lecithin E is a very tasty tablet. Okay, it's using a maple walnut, and it's also got the honey being used to flavor. Okay, and then for the salmon omega complex is the good fatty acid that I mentioned. Okay, so this good fatty acid, right, is very, very important for our heart. Okay, and also important for our brain also. But today, since the topic is talking about heart, right, so I'll let you know, actually it is important also to balance up the HDL and also the LDL in our body. Okay, these two cholesterol need to balance up. So whenever you talk about this, why we need to intake good omega-3, just remember the story that I tell you. When you want to remove your makeup or you want to repaint your house, right, you need a good oil also. Okay, and then number 4, regulate the plaque inflammation. So like I said, whenever there's a plaque inflammation, right, or inflammation inside the body, right, guess what? Omega-3 is also a good anti-inflammation. So when it reduces the inflammation, right, it gives a better flow for the blood to go. Just like imagine a highway got accident already. Okay, when accident happen in the middle of road, the whole road congested, right? So the first thing normally accident happen, they'll try to evaluate the danger, reduce the risk, and then slowly they'll pull all the involved vehicle to the side, right? So that the remaining car can still flow. So same goes to our blood vessel. When it's inflamed, right, we try to reduce the inflame so that it gives more space for our normal blood circulation to continue flowing. So that's the importance of anti-inflammation. Okay. And lastly, omega-3 is also our formula is very good because it's coming. It tell you transparently where does it coming from. It's coming from the Norwegian Sea, also from the deep sea, and all these quality fish that we use for our fish oil. Okay. So of course, there's many selection in the market, but do they tell you what kind of fish that they use? Does it come with heavy metal? Does it come with other pollutants inside? We don't know. Okay, so we will want to get the source from the deep sea. Okay, and then third supplementation that I share with you is CoQ10. So coenzyme Q10 is also very important for heart. So if you remember just now, the early slide when I shared about the triggers that actually affect the function, the change of the pressure, and then for heart, there's also because of the lack of the energy, right? So this is actually a good supplementation to increase the energy of our heart. So whenever you feel weak or you feel that, oh, the circulation is not good, okay, and then you say, oh, is my cholesterol reading everything okay? So it's probably because of our body itself do not have enough energy for this organ to continue serve us at the optimal stage. So CoQ10 is a good recommendation for people who want to produce that energy to not only heart. Actually, CoQ10 is required by all the organ inside our body. Later, I'll show you one graph, then you'll understand. Okay, so what we have in this CoQ10 is basically we have taurine, we have L-carnitine, also citrus bioflavonoid. So the citrus also act as an antioxidant, basically to improve this synergy of this combination. Okay, and lastly, the composition of all the material that I mentioned. So this is actually the material required to give our cell and the ATP, okay, the energy that they needs to generate. Okay, so the graph that I mentioned just now, I'm showing you now. So actually Q10, CoQ10 is something that our body can generate ourselves. But unfortunately, it will drop along when we age. Okay, so you can see here, the heart is the black color one. Okay, so like kidney, red color, the yellow color is our liver, and the purple color is our lungs. All these also need CoQ10 to give them energy to do their work on a daily basis. So for heart, you can see heart is actually the organ that have the earliest stage of drop in the CoQ10 level. Okay, so it's actually normal even when when you are just 20 or when you are just 30 years old, you feel like sometimes you feel weak. Okay, it's because the CoQ10 level has dropped significantly. Okay, so you can see when it comes to even when we are elder, then lagi lah, okay, low the. So how do we compensate that? We have to supplement it from our diet. But do we know how to get taurine, how to get L-carnitine from our diet? Okay, it's very hard, right? It's like sometimes it's in the animal internal organ. Okay, do we eat that very often? But if you do eat that often, right, sometimes it gives us other issue. Okay, it's very high in purine. Okay, it's very high in other cholesterol thing. Okay, so to get a healthy one, okay, I think food supplementation is a very good solution for us. Okay, especially if you want to provide this solution to elderly people. Okay, to our parents, to our family members who is elder. Okay, do we ask them to like go and buy the chicken intestine and eat every day? No, right? Okay, it might give more problems. Okay, so with that, I think I have come to the end of my sharing about heart. Healthy heart, I think, is simple and straightforward, because I just want to deliver. Actually, we can do our parts to spread this awareness and then let more people know, so that we can actually we might not be able to bring it down to number 2 lah. I mean, heart disease, I believe it will continue to be number 1, but at least our social circle will have less people who actually contribute to these numbers. This is, I think, the best thing we can do for our friends and family, right?